Hello, good morning from London, and a very warm welcome to all of you wherever you are today. Thank you for attending Education 2021, which is the series of webinars that Learning Possibilities has been running over the last 12 months. We've had a bit of a break over the summer holidays, but we're back, and we have an amazing lineup for you over the next 2 or 3 months. If any of you joined our webinar in May, the last one that we had Brother Peter Tabichi, a teacher from Kenya and the winner of the 2019 Global Teacher Prize. And we've kept in touch with Brother Peter, and over the summer we've helped him to build a new block of classrooms to his school, and really excited to learn that things are going well. His school has increased in size, and the number of people he's working with has increased tremendously. So really good news, and a lot of that will be on our website this week in case you're interested. And today we're really excited because we have another winner of the Global Teacher Prize, the world's best teacher. And we are excited also because this is a different story, a new story, and something that I think will not only intrigue, but also give you all a sense of hope and outlook for our young people. And we're really, keen to share that story with you. So today we have Andrea Zafiraiko. Andrea won the Global Teacher Prize in 2019 and is now part of a small group of people under the title of the world's best teacher. So welcome, Andrea. We're delighted to have you here. And what we're really keen to learn about your story and what you've done. So you've written a book, which I've been really honored to read. It's something that I thought I would skim through and spend hours going through and reading it cover to cover. And we'll come back to that shortly. But on the bottom, you can see a link to the book. But welcome, and we're really excited to have you here.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone.
Yes. So Andrea's book, which is called Those Who Can Teach, is available now, and I would highly recommend anybody who's interested in learning about what happens in an inner city school to have a look at it. It's fascinating. So, Andrea, let's start at the beginning. Always a good place to start. So you grew up in Camden in North London, the daughter of immigrants coming from Greece and Cyprus. What was that like? Do you have lots of happy childhood memories?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, it was normal. I had a very, what is normal for me it was a very normal upbringing. It was a loving household. I had, my grandparents were living with us, so it was a very, it was an extended family, and it was. It was very Greek. So in terms of what happened outside, that was British. So I'd go to school and English, but at home it was Greek food, Greek culture. It was, I was only able to speak Greek in the house with the fear of losing my culture, but that was normal for me. And I think that's, I think that's what's interesting, because I'll tell you something that happened yesterday to me, Mehul. Yesterday I was teaching a young my class, and they are 11 to 12-year-olds, and I'm not sure how we got to the conversation with the lesson. Sometimes I divert rapidly in my class, but we were just talking about home lives and whatever, and one of my boys said, "Oh yeah, miss, I live in me and my family share one room in a house." And for him that was normal, and obviously for many of us inside, our hearts are like, wow, that poor child. But for him that was normal, and we all absolutely, that's fine. Your normality is fine. So yeah, it's quite interesting when we say how was it like, and what is your normal? Yeah.
But that's something that's quite common, isn't it? With migrants into countries, that you end up living a life where, on the one hand, you live a home life that is still as if it was in the country you came from, and yet then you go out and put on a different persona and become something else.
There is a fear, isn't there, of when migrants enter a new country, there is a fear of the loss, of losing identity, of losing the way of their life. And I think that's why the diaspora, they hold on. We hold on to our culture in fear, and sometimes different can be uncomfortable.
Yes.
So that's why I think it's quite, it's very tight, and we work harder to keep it together.
I tell you one thing that I've realized with that, though, is that we hold on to a culture that our parents or our grandparents remember and brought with them, and then often when you go back to the countries that they came from, things have moved on, but yet you're still holding on to an old culture. And
absolutely, you're so right. You are absolutely right. Yeah.
And you kind of start wondering, how did you become so conservative, and how did they become so liberal?
Exactly.
And in this upbringing, was there a eureka moment when you thought, I really want to be a teacher? Did it just happen, or did you look at your teachers and think, this is what I want to be? Or how does one get to that realization?
Well, I think it's when I started writing the book, I got to really, it was almost like therapy for me as well. I was asked that question, when did you want to become a teacher? And I couldn't find out. I couldn't remember that moment that, it's going to happen today. So what I do remember is it was my favorite game. So I would pretend that I was a classroom teacher and had my teddies and my toys and my younger brother, and he was one of my students, in my bedroom, and we'll be reading together, and then I'd take them on class trips to the bottom of the garden, So even at a very young age, that was my favorite toy or my favorite game. And then something else which I think almost signed the seal was when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and my parents came back from a parents' evening that I had at school, and they said to me, Andrea, please stop telling your teachers what to do. They're saying that you're very busy. So even at that time, apparently I was a teacher. So I was telling my teachers how to teach. So and then there's other things, just on reflection, the strongest memories that I have, I'd sit in my GCSE art class, just waiting for my teacher to give out the work, and I'd sit there and I go, when I have my class, I'm going to have displays over there, I'm going to have objects hanging down from the ceiling and fabrics, I'm going to have the paints in that corner. So I was interior decorating my own, my own classroom. So yeah, fantastic. I think it's a bit more, it was going to happen. It was absolutely happen, wasn't it? So yes.
And I don't know whether we should be happy for your poor brother, or the fact that he got education both at home and at school. But when you decided to be a teacher, what then made you think about teaching in a inner city school? I grew up in Brent. I know what Brent is like, and you must have, so many languages spoken in your school, so much diversity. And what makes one think about that as the place they want to go and teach?
You don't, do you? I mean, the thing about teaching, and in the UK, we, at that time, we undertook a 1 year's training program. And then once that happened, it's up to you to try and hopefully find a job in a teaching school. In a school. And so my challenge was that I was trained to be an art teacher, but art teachers very rarely leave their jobs, because it's amazing. It's amazing being an art teacher. It's a lovely subject to teach. So what I decided to do was I would apply to anything in London. If I could travel to it, then I would apply to that. And so when this job opportunity came up to teach in my school, I applied, and I didn't think about doing much research. Let me just put an application form and see what happens, and then we'll see what happens. And thankfully, I got an interview, and only when after I got that okay, you've got an interview, I did my research, and yes, that was when that was when I thought, oh my God, But yeah, it was I think for me it was just wanting to get into a classroom and start teaching, start having that leadership role. And it was a case of, I don't care where I apply, anywhere is going to be fine. I'll fix it. I'll sort it. I'm amazing. But then what happened was, when I did apply, my dad he went mad. He went, oh my God, there's no way you're going to go and teach in that school. That's a horrible area, a really bad area. There's gangs. And my answer to him was like, look, Dad, just 1 year. Hey, I haven't got the job yet. They haven't said yes yet, but just 1 year. And let's see what happens. I need to get myself through the teaching door. I need to have my experience. And 16 years later, I'm still here.
You mentioned that in your book, and the other thing that you mentioned about the school, which is really interesting, is that when you took a maternity break, and you're really looking forward to getting back into the school, and in many ways, looking at the stories that the children that you talk about in your book. You can actually see that you have, so much love for that place. In many ways, you can't imagine you in some other school in leafy suburbia somewhere.
Well, there's something about our students. They're the reason why I teach. They're happy. They come in. I mean, and the beauty about it is that we know that what's outside in their personal lives is not ideal. We know that they are going through absolute hell, some of them at home, and yet when they come in, they don't show that, they don't expose that, and they are happy to be in a school. Now, it may sound quite strange, but we have queues of kids lining up to come into the school in the morning. They love the school. They love the escapism. They like to get away from what's waiting for them outside of the school gates at home. So, and it's a joy. It's such a pleasure to teach them, and they're energized, and and they make you laugh. And sometimes you'll want to rip your hair out. And you're like, my God, but most of the time they are, that's the reason why I'm still here and I haven't left yet. It's hard to leave. It's really hard to leave this place. The thought of that, is quite strange.
But when I was reading your book and coming across characters like Alex and Fatima and Alvaro and so on, what really came through for me was how much more you do in addition to the teaching.
Yeah,
in the way you kind of look at their lives and look at some of their issues, and find solutions for them. It's almost like you're a teacher, a social worker, somebody who looks after children and safeguarding, somebody who's almost like a foster parent in some ways, all kind of wrapped into one. I mean, is that what you see your job as being?
Well, welcome to the UK teacher world. That's what we do, and it's really fascinating that you managed to extract that from the book, because I think there's a world outside of teaching that thinks that your job, or maybe it's just a UK teacher role that we have to do. But there's a thought, there's a mindset that my job is to go into a classroom and just to teach a subject, and if they listen, great. If they don't, tough. It's fine. It's not a problem. And I will go home at 3:30 and put my legs up and have lots of cups of tea and whatever, and my job is done. No, that's not what teaching is like in the UK. We have got a huge responsibility. Not only, I think the teaching is the 50% part of the job. The other 50% is making sure, are they, what's their mindset like? Are they behaving? Why are they not behaving? What's going on? Do they have equipment? Why has he come in late? Why is he angry? Why is she crying coming in? What is going on there? And it's trying to identify and almost do like a triage, a quick triage of what's going on, get them in the lesson, then afterwards picking and unpicking and finding out what is going on and how we need to intervene. So I think my job now is 50% teaching, 50% all the other stuff.
But that's interesting. If we pick up that a little bit further, I mean, all the other stuff, is that something that is expected out of teachers and something that's kind of the teacher training program you go through? Or is that something you've picked up and know that you have to do because of the situation you're in?
Yeah, I think it's an add-on. I think it's about the context of your school. It's a responsibility that you feel as a human being, a mum perhaps. It's knowing that you are sometimes the only person who is the positive role model in their life, and if you're not going to put them on the right direction, then you can see in 7 years' time they will be locked up, locked away. So I think there is a responsibility that we have on ourselves, and maybe I do a little bit more than others, but that's okay. I can sleep at night.
Absolutely. But what does that do for your work-life balance, family time? Because to me it looks like it's not one job that you're doing, but probably three.
Yes, and I am worse. I think I'm the worst. I don't know what work-life balance is, because I think once you're in a job which you enjoy so much and it kind of takes over your life, everything else fits around you. Yeah. So I've got a great support mechanism. My husband is very tolerant of me being a teacher. Thankfully, he's not a teacher. Otherwise, that would just not work. I think that's what enables me to do what I do best. But in terms of work-life balance, I've not cracked it. I don't think I can't switch off. Everyone knows that. Many teachers can't switch off, but as long as I have energy and I'm energized, I think that's what it is. I don't know the answer to that, Mehul. What's the answer?
You're absolutely right, because I'm in a very similar position. Really grateful to have a supportive family, because I love what I do, travel to places, and I'm frequently there at midnight trying to get things done, and I can hear them all sleeping and trying to do it as softly as possible, but I'm sure they wake up. It's so I don't think there is an answer, as long as you love what you do. I think it's part of
that's right. And if it doesn't hurt anyone, then you're okay.
Absolutely, yeah. And the thing that interested me also, when I was thinking about this chat today, and thinking about some of the things I wanted to cover, I came across a video from the great late Sir Ken Robinson in one of his TED Talks, who talks about art and says, all children are born artists. The problem is to remain an artist as we grow up, because schools kill creativity. What is your view on that?
I couldn't agree with him more. I think that there was some research that I was reading yesterday that said, I think 17% of students of young children who continue to be creative, so play, use Lego, use crayons, or drawing, are exposed to creativity, they will be better readers. They will engage more with reading and numeracy by the age of 9. So I think there's something really rich there. And Ken had a fantastic point. I think there's a pressure that we have as school leaders to ensure that when we put children in a box in our schools, we throw lots of teaching subjects, whatever. They've got to do examinations, they've got to come out, and that's it. That's our job done. And I think that's what Ken was trying to say. It's not just about being able to recite knowledge and remember equations and remember how to do things. It's all about being better people, being creative thinkers, to be social beings, caring citizens. And I think that's what creativity and the arts and having these types of communities would really help in our schools.
Absolutely. It was really good to see people dialing in from the Philippines, from
Yeah,
Zimbabwe, and some
how
of these other places we
wonderful.
should all be in because they're nice and sunny and hot
Yeah.
at the moment. Um, I saw a comment pop up from Trina a few minutes ago saying that, with so much pressure on children and so many children having individual needs, how can you remain so passionate about your job?
Because it's not a job. I think
Great
that's
answer.
what it is. It's not a job. It's a way of life, and teaching has always been a way of life for me. To, to the point where sometimes when I'm having a little bit of a tiff with my husband, he's like, "Stop, stop talking to me like one of your students." You know, you know. So I think I mean, it's definitely a vocation. You can't just switch it off. I suppose it's like an athlete. You don't stop being an athlete. You don't stop being, a footballer. It's in your blood. It's there. It drives you. It motivates you. Um, yeah, I think that's the answer.
One of the other things that actually came out of your book really well is that, and perhaps this is one of the reasons for your passion, is that art, unlike any other subject, doesn't have language barriers, doesn't have other barriers, and actually draws kids out. Those that are hard to reach or those
Yeah.
that otherwise. Might be struggling at school, and it comes out so often in the things that you write about. Is it a subject that we're not focused enough on? Are we doing enough to promote the arts and artists and make sure, you talk about getting people to do GCSEs and A levels. Why aren't we doing more to push that?
Do you know, I would love to know what the answer is. I'm still trying to figure out why on earth there is an attitude that the arts and education are not important. And when I'm saying the arts, it's music, drama, as well. And why are they not important? Why, they're their subject, they're soft subject. Let's put them to the side. I can the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because I have, and you've read it in my book, I've got stories that I can tell you of children where being in the art room has completely transformed their lives. It's
Yeah.
saved them, it's helped them to become more confident. And we mustn't underestimate what confidence is for a young person. If a young person comes, just imagine, Mehul, you went and you were just dropped in another country, can't speak the language at all, go into the school system there, off you go, good luck, off you go. The thing about the arts is that they don't need you don't need to be able to speak, you don't need to be able to communicate. The communication is within the art craft. And these types of children feel just as good as everyone else. They can actually access the lesson in the curriculum. And that's confidence, that's self-esteem, that will make them better, happier young people. When children are happy, when they feel like they belong and they can access what the other students are doing, things will be okay for them, and they will progress and they will achieve in all subjects, not just in the arts. That's what it is. It's almost like I don't know. It's like a buffer. It's something which helps our young people to become better in themselves, and then to help them access everything else.
And when you look at a school like yours in a big city, but in an inner city where you have lots of migrants, refugees, lots of languages, and you often speak about whether they've had breakfast at home before they've come, whether they can afford the next pair of shoes, or whether the blazer is still the one they had at year seven. How, in that scenario, does lockdown and a pandemic affect them?
Yeah, I mean it's huge. It's huge, and that's why I'm just so happy that schools are open in the UK now. We're open, and I hated teaching online. It was something that I did not like doing, especially my subject. Um, my subject, I need to be able not just to transfer the knowledge, but I need to see whether or not they're understanding. And sometimes, and this is where the language barrier comes in, and sometimes when they're not there physically, you can't see that, you can't get a sense of that, you can't your other sense. I think we've got 7 senses as teachers. That wasn't picking up, and so this is why I'm so glad we're back. I've noticed that children were happier coming back to school. We knew there were going to be problems like domestic violence. We knew there was going to be poor engagement with some parents and also with some students, and we know that if a family has got the support mechanisms at home, then they would automatically benefit more. But on the other hand, what was fascinating, Mehul, was that there was 1 or 2 cases, not a lot, but 1 or 2 cases whereby some students excelled by being at home. So, and these were the students that were always very quiet, very independent, and because and the ones who just got on with it, they did really well because, and they excelled because they were able to have the one-to-one with the teacher. They were able to have no disturbances, no distractions, complete their work, and carry on. And I think that was quite amazing. That's what I noticed. Some of my students made amazing progress by being at home because of the fact that they were just in control. They had a very good environment behind them. They had the support, they had the technology, they had the art equipment, but of course that they were a minority.
One of the things that Brother Peter Tabici talked about was the fact that the kids, during lockdown just didn't have devices and connectivity. And so, teaching them remotely just became impossible to the extent that he ended up buying lots of tablets and phones just to distribute them, just to kind of keep learning happening. Did you see similar things?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we can't wait for our government to say we'll provide you with. I mean, no, you don't do that. We stripped the school of computers, of laptops, and we did door deliveries. We took them to parents' homes. We did packs for them. We did art packs. We delivered them, and we're talking about thousands of deliveries. But it's just the one thing that I've noticed for the pandemic is the power of technology and the fact that if you haven't got it, that you are, you're handicapped. You're missing out, and that's not fair. That's not right. So we made sure that there was Wi-Fi access, because in some houses the internet access was the parent's mobile phone. Well, how can 3 students use that when that doesn't work? So we had to also think about access to the internet. We had to train our young people you've got a computer. What do you do with it? So and it's you can log on, that's fine, but then what? How do I upload work? How do I access? So there was all these challenges and hurdles, but I'll tell you what, Mel, I've been teaching for many years, and the challenge that I found myself in, having to think about pedagogy, having to think about how do I teach now. Forget how I used to do it. How do I teach? How do I make sure that my young people are learning? How can I check their progress? How do I keep them engaged? That was for me the most exciting part of lockdown. I had to retrain. Whatever I did in the past wasn't good enough. I had to now upskill myself and be a student. And the first person that I spoke to was a very good friend of mine who was an ICT computer teacher. And I was like, right, how do I do this? What do I do? And she was like, right, this is what you do. You go, and so I was like, right, okay, brilliant. And from there, I would plan my lessons, and I would spend hours planning one lesson. 1 hour lesson, I'd spend 3 hours planning because I wanted it to be brilliant. So yeah, I enjoyed the challenge. I enjoyed that, but it's so good to be back.
It's really interesting, because when we talk to governments, especially in developing countries, they actually see 2 different challenges. They see the challenge of getting devices and connectivity out, but they also see the challenge of understanding how they get teachers to not only teach online, but assess students, monitor their progress, encourage them. And as you say, when you're in the same classroom, that's a very different matter to when you're trying to do it on WhatsApp or a phone line that isn't stable or whatever. So it must be a lot of learning there, and a lot of challenges. One of the other questions around this that has come out in a lot of the work we do is that during lockdown, girls are often expected to do more things at home than boys, and therefore, their time to study actually diminishes. Did you see the same thing?
Yeah, well, I did, and attendance for some of the girls, but then we were making phone calls home. We were just saying to parents, no, 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 and it was quite funny. I'll tell you a hilarious thing which happened, which really, got on my skin. I was teaching a lesson, and one of my students didn't turn up, and I said, "Oh, where is John, for example?" And the kids said, "Well, Miss, he was there he was there in geography." So I said, "Well, can someone contact him, because I can't contact him?" And so one of the students in my class, whilst they were working, they texted, said, "John, where are you?" "Oh, I had to go out and help my mum shopping." So John was helping his mum shopping because his mum thought that um, that my lesson was not good enough.
Yeah.
And so it's about parental mindsets as well. Sometimes it's not the kids, it's the parents we've got to train, and we've got to make sure that we are educating. Sometimes we'd call home, your child missed, your child wasn't in registration, and we were just waking up the parents. So it's, children like routine. They like to follow a certain system pattern. They enjoy that. If we take that away from them, then they're lost. And it's adults' responsibility, the parents, the teachers, to try and make sure that we keep their routine similar every day.
Absolutely. It's really good to see lots of comments, and you've obviously made some friends in Brunei who've just said.
Oh, I know. Hello. Nice to see you. And some people are tuning in from Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Bonana. Hopefully I said that right. People in Zimbabwe as well.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about becoming the world's best teacher. I know a little bit about this because I'm a judge on this prize, and honored to be in that position. But the number of applications that come in, 30 odd thousand, and the thought of an art teacher from an inner city London school, daughter of migrants. Did you ever think that this was me when you applied for this prize?
Oh, come on, Mehul. I mean, I was such the underdog, right? I mean, this wasn't going to happen to me. There's no way that anyone, why would you vote for, first of all, why would the prize winner go to a Western country? Why would it go to the UK? Why? Why would it go? Not only that, why would it go to London? A rich economy where there's no problems. It's gold, it's glistening. And then why would it go to an art teacher when we hear around us that schools are cutting out the arts left, right, and centre? So the answer to your question is no way. I was there for the fun. I was there. I was there for the experience. And to be honest with you, I didn't even think there was any chance of reaching the top 50, let alone the top 10 and winning. So honestly, it's still a very surreal experience that's happened to me, and I still can't believe it, to be honest with you.
And the thing that also comes out a little bit in your book is to be the world's best teacher. To me, it seems like you go through the formal teacher training, and then you put away all the rules and all of that, and actually become something much bigger than that. A lot of things that aren't taught to you, a lot of things that aren't expected of you, but you end up doing for the love of the children and the job that you do. And I think that comes out, so many times in your story.
Yeah, because it's not their fault.
No.
It's not their fault. They can't help it. These are kids. These are young people. They've got they don't make sometimes the right decisions. They don't know what the right decision is. So why should they? Why shouldn't we be there to help them on that journey? And then the rest is up to them, but we're helping them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one thing I always, say to people is we're only what we are because of the teachers that taught us. And I think we should all realize that.
Yeah.
So you're on this stage in Dubai. I was fortunate to be there and see all this. And you're sitting there, and Trevor Noah, the big American comedian, is watching on the screen as Lewis Hamilton comes zooming across Dubai, and 7,000 kids, a world record, put a hashtag and shout your name out. Let's have a little look at a clip to see all of that, and then we'll come back to that.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to move on to the official announcements. As many of you know, for the past 3 years, the winners' names have been announced in some of the most spectacular ways. It's one of the ways in which the Vaki Foundation has shown that winning this award is a huge deal. You can imagine it's not exactly easy to surpass an announcement from the Pope or one from outer space, which is why this year the announcement is part of a world record. This is a really special thing that the Vaki Foundation and the Global Teacher Prize have put together to announce it for the teachers in a way that I think they will all appreciate. Andrea Zafiraku. Andrea Zafiraku, ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 2018 Global Teacher Prize.
I've watched that clip so many times, and the thing that I love about it is when they announced your name, you're kind of looking around to see who it was.
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear mine. I was like really excited about who's going to win. and then I couldn't hear the name. It wasn't clear. I think from where we were sitting on the stage, it wasn't clear enough. And then I just Eddie Wu ran over to me. It's you, and I was like, oh my God. But I mean, I was just mesmerized by all that glitz. I mean, the front row, the front 5 rows were full of celebrities and ministers from, and presidents and kings and sheikhs. And I was just, wow. So it was pretty extraordinary, and so surreal.
One of the reasons I agreed to be a judge on this prize, with everything that comes with it. But one of the reasons was that I thought we need something that actually showcases teachers and teaching, and something that, puts them on a stage as glitzy as that, with world leaders, with sheikhs and kings and so on, because we should honor this profession. It's a great profession that, is the bedrock of society. And I think, the one thing that you winning it has done is actually, highlighted the value of arts and creativity in the teaching process.
Yeah, no, and I think you're right. We don't, if you were to ask an individual who was one of the most inspirational people, who inspired you the most, who was that person? And 99.99% it would be, oh, it was my history teacher, my music teacher, it was my English, my drama teacher, because they told me, to do that, or that teacher turned around and said this to me. And everyone has that. And so why these people are gold, they are changed lives. They've said one sentence that you have remembered for 30 odd years. So why are we not celebrating them? Why are we not, putting them on this gold pedestal, all of them? I mean, and you're right, Mehul, it's about really praising the amazing work that's happening in every single country, in every single classroom around the world. We don't value teachers more than they should be. I mean, we don't value them enough. That's the problem. Yes. So I'm just, and I'm one of those I'm one of a handful of people who have been blessed, truly blessed, to have got this opportunity. And so my job is not just to sit back and be humble and say, oh, I'm so, thank you very much. What it's about, right? Okay, the mission is on. We got work to do. We got work to do. Let's carry on raising the profile of teachers across. Well, let's carry on supporting our teachers and making sure that they're okay. I think that's what my job is now. So
Absolutely. But, in spite of that, 3 years have gone by. You're still in Alperton High School in Brent, in your office, still doing the job you love. So how has this changed you?
Oh, changed me?
Yes. Because in the time that I've known you, I still see the same Andrew. I don't see.
Well, do you know what? Thank you, Mehul. Thank you so much. I'm hoping it hasn't changed me. I'm hoping it's kept me. I mean, I think I'm still grounded. I have the same people in my life that I had 3 years ago. It's helped me to. I tell you what, it has made me learn. So what have I learned? So I've learned that there is more than what exists within my school walls. So my car was doing 15 miles a week, school, home, school, home, school. That was the journey. But now I have had the opportunity with this prize to go to different countries, visit different countries, meet thousands of teachers from all over the world, learn, inspire them. And what I've learned is the absolute dedication which many of them have. And I also see the boundaries, what blocks them, and I think it's about supporting them to unblock that. So there are very similarities throughout the whole world. There are similar challenges that we all face as teachers, and there are similar problems we all face. I just think it's about how resilient we are and how much we want to carry on fighting, pushing, and existing in our worlds. So yeah, I'm hoping I haven't changed that much, but I think the mission is there's still lots of work to do.
Absolutely, and one of the things that I was interested to see is you've set up a foundation now, Artists in Residence. What's the purpose of this foundation? What is it that you're hoping to do with it?
So I came back to the UK as a winner of this prize, and it was amazing. I had such incredible response. But what was really important was the fact that I was an art teacher. I represented a subject in my own country that was always that I had to fight for. I still do. We have to fight for curriculum time. We have to fight for resources. We have to fight for changing mindsets. We have to fight to keep our subjects existing in schools. And this was one of the reasons why I set up the foundation. And the other reason was because I someone's challenged me and said, well, you've won $1 million. What are you going to do about it? You talk about the arts, put your money where your mouth is. And I thought, right, okay. I shall put my money where the mouth is. So, and winning $1 million, it's a huge responsibility. And, we all know that it's not one person that changes a life. It's a whole school that changes a life. So it's the whole, that lovely metaphor about it takes a village to grow a child. I think that's what happens in my school. It wasn't just me doing this work. It's the whole environment, my colleagues helping me to be who I am. And so one of the reasons that I set up Artists in Residence was because I wanted to change the mindsets of the arts in schools. I wanted to raise a profile of the arts. And I thought one of the best ways to do that is by bringing the real professionals, the real artists to come into schools to work with teachers and young people, to inspire them, to show them new skills, to upskill them. And it's been something that happened to me when I was younger. So my teacher always used to bring her artist friends. And I used to say, oh my God, this is a job. You get paid doing this. And I think it's been it's been inspiring to see the outcomes. And I'm really proud of myself. And I'm humbled to say that it's doing such a good job in our schools in the UK. I'm really pleased.
I think it's fair to say we're all very proud of you, Andrea. So I think that's So,
Yeah.
well, again, just coming back to the book, and those of you who joined late, this is the book that I keep talking about, Andrea's book on those who can teach. Amazing read. Please make sure that you get a copy. But one thing in there you talk about is, and you said this a couple of times today, is that people don't take the arts seriously. It's a bolt-on subject if you've got nothing else to do, and it's okay to skip it and so on. And it was interesting to read about your strategies to get kids through the arts by creating lists of careers that came from them.
Yeah.
And encouraging parents to understand that if you do an A level or an O level or GCSE in the arts, then you could actually go on to have a successful career. What has been the feedback from that? How successful has that been?
Do you know, it's really fascinating that you're not the only one who has found that technique and has remembered that technique in the book. So that's been really powerful. And I thought every teacher did this, every art teacher did this, right? No, exactly. So I was the child who, when I went to tell my parents that I wanted to do GCSE art, they said no. You are not doing that. You're going to do history like your sister, because the arts won't provide you with a job. You can't get art. What are you going to do? Paint? What is it you're going to do all day? No, that's not a real job. And I was that person. And I think it took me a month of sitting in my history teacher's classroom to think, I can't cope with this. I was very depressed. Then I went to my art teacher and I said, can I join art? She was like, oh, thank God, Andrea. Yes. Go and tell your parents, and I had to have the first very challenging conversation with my parents to say, just to let you know, I'm going to do, that I've changed it. I'm doing that. And you can't say anything. And my parents didn't say anything. They're just like, let's just, let her get on with it. So that gave me the motivation to be, very good at what I do, to study my subject. And I loved it. It was the way forward. But the questions which they had, the what jobs can you do, always stayed with me. And when I have parents' evenings and I'm speaking to the parents of my students, and I'm teaching kids, Mehul, who I know are going to be better at than me, who can draw better at me. And they're 10 years, even at year 11, they're amazing. I'm thinking, oh my God, your child is gifted. And the parents tell me, they get it from me, but I wasn't allowed to do art. I'm like, okay, okay. So your child, I'm telling you now, they've got to do it. And so we're getting there. It's about mindsets. It's about educating our parents that there is more than just sitting in a room painting walls when it comes to the arts and creativity. And if you have a look at every single job advert that's going out there, what do people want? They want creative people. They want people who are sociable, think outside of the box, who can cooperate with other people, who work in teams, and who can communicate. And this is what the arts and creative subjects provide. They provide these skills.
One of the things that I see now as an employer is that working from home has changed the way we work, and what that has done, interestingly, is that it's improved the pool of people from which we now employ. Because if somebody's working from home, they could be in Zimbabwe, the Philippines, or in Alperton. It doesn't matter. People that have disabilities and weren't able to come into the workplace are now part of the pool. And in that bigger global workplace, I actually see that creativity and the arts are one of the things that actually distinguishes applicants, because it gives you a sense that somebody here is doing something out of the box. They're actually have creativity inside of them. They're going to come up with new ideas, new thoughts. And this is where the paradox is, isn't it? This is the future that we see, and yet we don't pay enough attention to the subjects that deliver it.
Yeah, no, I can't agree with you more. And some of the students who I never taught art, I found out that one of the ways that they were getting through their lockdown experience was by either picking up a guitar and playing some music, or drawing, or following a tutorial of watercolorism on YouTube or whatever. And this was the way that they were healing. They were getting through that very strange period. And once in a while, they're sharing this with us. And that's the problem. People are not sharing the fact that they are doing all of this creative experiences. But I think it's quite interesting to see your world now, Mehul, in terms of the recruitment, as you were talking about, and how it's changed and what you're looking for. And maybe that's going to be what you've just said will help the kind of the drive for creativity and arts in schools a bit more.
Absolutely. Interesting question that came up from Prashant, that whilst we've been in lockdown, you've obviously had to learn new skills, new pedagogies, and new ways of doing things. Now that we're back, are those still relevant, or how have they changed the way you teach?
Yeah, well, this is really fascinating because I've become one with my desktop visualizer at school. So I normally, when I demonstrate in my classroom, so every lesson I'm showing my students how to draw, how to apply paint, or how to, and they would come around me in a crowd. But then I'd find that when they'd go back to their tables, not everyone was able to see, or, maybe they were daydreaming, as they do. But now that I can use a visualizer, this has been one of the tools where I don't think I will ever let go. It's transformed everything for me. And once it's on the screen, everyone can see it. So there are lots of things which I'm keeping. I'm keeping also the fact that I've discovered new artists. I've had to learn about digital artists and new trends. And so that's now, they're going to be now in my database and my data bank. So yeah, we should never, not lose what happened over the last 18 months. We've got to learn from that. And, we've got to acknowledge that some of the stuff that happened, some of the new systems that were in place, they're good systems, they're great systems, and we need to keep that.
Absolutely. So looking ahead, we are at this crossroads. We seem to be at lots of crossroads, but I can see one here where in the UK we're heading to the winter and the flu season and so on.
Lockdown.
Kids are back in school, which and not always vaccinated, and we haven't yet got rid of the pandemic. Many countries around the world are still struggling to get their vaccinations, and in this change, we look at the world of work and the new normals of hybrid working or working from home, the way businesses have changed. Do you actually think schools are there to provide kids that meet the expectations of the business world, or are you there just to deliver a curriculum?
I'm there to create happy, healthy, curious, inspired agents of change. That's what schools should do.
And you do that, but do you think that's common?
It should be. It should be. Why shouldn't every child have the same experience? Why shouldn't every child be prioritized? I think becoming a parent has changed quite a lot of my thinking. If it's not good enough for my kids, then why is it good enough for other people's kids? And I think that's if there's teachers out there and we are parents, I think that's the new mindset I want us to have. The way I'm teaching, is that good enough for my own children? Because we want the best for our children, don't we? So if it's not good enough for my children, then why is it good enough for other people's children? And I think that's something which I'm gonna, I think is quite important to hear.
And does that mean that it's about finding what's good in every child and giving them confidence, giving them encouragement because they are good at something, and every child is good at something.
I mean, you're right, because I think we've just had a question in from Wayne James, who said that we've got a lot of kids who believe that they are dumb, but it's the language that we use when we're teaching. Obviously that's not the case, and it's also finding what it is they can excel in. Sometimes we are the way that we have learned, the way that we're teaching, it may not be what's inspiring the young people. They are gamers now. They are, their technology is their world. So it's about finding something that we can teach them that resonates to them, and they won't feel dumb anymore. They'll feel that they are engaged and part of that world.
So my last question to you, Andrea, and the one I ask everybody. You have a lot of experience now of education systems around the world and seeing what's going on in your school and elsewhere. We've had in many ways, quite a torrid last 12 months, trying to sort of cope with something that we've never experienced before and, finding answers. What do you think is going to happen in the next 12 months, and how would you advise teachers to prepare for it?
Wow. Yeah, I think there will be another. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm not clairvoyant, but I think this pandemic will be here to stay. However, what we need to make sure is that schools are open, because it's the most inclusive place and the safest place for our young people. So I'm hoping that we can try our best as teachers and as leaders of schools to think about ways of doing the best we can to keep our kids engaged with us, because once we lose them, once they zone out, once they become disengaged, then it's going to be hard to get them back into our school systems. And I think whatever happens in the future, I think we've got a big responsibility here to make sure that as well as teaching them the reading and the writing, we've also got to teach them how to communicate, how to be good human beings, how to be sociable, how to be resilient, and also how to have fun and joy. What makes them happy? Because I'm just worried about our students, actually, our kids in the future. They've gone through trauma, and we're not going to find out the effects of that for a long time yet, but it's going to be there.
Absolutely. And I think if we can make them all the things that you want to make them, I think one of the things that will happen is we'll have a much better future. And I think that's, good for everybody.
Then I can retire. Then I'll retire.
you and me both. So just following up on a couple of things we mentioned. So if you want to find out about Andrea's foundation, how you can be of support, how you can contribute, the website is on your screens now, and I'd urge you to all go and have a look and see what it does, and do get in touch. I would also urge you all, go and get this, read it. It'll open your eyes as it did mine. I read it cover to cover because I loved it. I love the.
Oh, thank you.
The real. It's not theory. It's not what we should do. It's real life, and you actually experience it, and you actually feel it, and you start thinking about those characters, as I've been doing for a few days now, and that I think is absolutely wonderful. Andrea, it's been absolutely wonderful having you on, and I do hope you'll come back, and all the very best, and in what you do, and if every teacher was a teacher like you, I think we'd have a world full of the world's best teachers, and we can only hope that that's.
I think we'll have a slightly mad world, but
and we all love living in it. We all absolutely love living in it.
But thank you so much, and thank you for everyone for tuning in today. Thank you.
Absolutely. And as it says at the bottom, if you want a certificate, then register with us. We'll do that. We'll be back in about 2 to 3 weeks with another amazing webinar, some amazing people joining us. That's a surprise you'll find out about in a week or so. But in the meantime, stay safe, look after yourselves, and all the very best. Thank you for tuning in today.